Good morning. Welcome to the Robert Saviola Show. I got a little treat in store for you today. Actually, a big treat. A guest here is Michael Imhof. He's a former Navy commander, and he was also a Navy SEAL. Now, you know I don't have guests on the show. So for me to have Michael on the show, you know he's something special, and I thought worthy to be on the show. Also, during the summer this year, I'm going to see if I can get Michael back here to host a show on his own, because I think that what he has to say is a message that needs to be brought out. I see we're also on the same path with the gospel. I've been doing a lot of that work myself, Michael, and I'm so thankful for these 3 books. And you've written 5, you said.
I've written 5 books, Robert.
And what about the other 2?
Well, the other 2 books, I think the 3 you have, 2 on Bible characters and 1 on supernatural testimonies. I've got a book also, Testimonies of Ex-Muslims. These are Muslims that became Christians and reasons why. Interesting read. In each case, how God moved on their hearts to reveal to them the truth. For me, I always have the interest in what is truth, because truth is what sets people free in this lifetime and the next. And truth is always important for people to know in reference to any area of their life, in reference to what's going on around them in the world today.
Do you think a person could be a good Muslim and still live in the world with other people that are not Muslim?
If you go with the Quran, if you go with the teachings of the Quran, I actually probably think the people that are carrying out a number of these events today are going on along with the teachings. You can be a moderate Muslim and not do some of these things. True, I've met many Muslims that are very friendly, and you can work with them in good order and get the job done and be very sociable. But you can go to the Quran, and Quran will tell you for a Muslim not to take Christians or Jews as your friends.
Correct. And well, that's why my premise is to be a truly good Muslim, you cannot be with anybody else but Muslims, because they want to kill everybody else if they listen to the book.
If you go with the teachings of the Quran, it's basically in that line.
Now, there's been a lot happening over the past few years. We talked a little bit before the show about how the country is being hijacked, the things that are being done in this nation. What would you say people need to know? Because there's a lot of people still with their eyes closed.
I agree with you, Robert. And as a citizen, I would say there are a lot of things going on in our nation today that people need to take a look at. Some things just don't add up. I mean, some of the policies and what you see set forth, I think there's a lot of people behind the government, influencing the government to make certain decisions they're making and leading us down the wrong track. I think the train is on the track and we're heading to a train wreck. Some of the policies to me are ludicrous.
They are ludicrous. And when we look at what's happening in the country today, we notice that the media seems to be in bed very much with the side of Satan. And I'm looking at things as the whole world right now is either Luciferian or actually outright satanic. Because either they do not know they're following Satan, which is Luciferian. Is it by saying that right, or Lucifer?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm in sync with you.
Or they're actually Satanists where they actually are following Satan and knowing it. Because I also find that if you pray now,
yes,
it seems like you have a hotline to God, and those prayers get answered so fast. It's almost like not many people are praying, so it's looking around for something to do. It's unreal.
America Christians need to take heed of what you just said. They need to rise up and pray for our nation, because our nation needs great prayer right now. And let me say, and maybe taking a little rabbit trail, what you just alluded to a little bit ago, in reference to our nation, when I'm talking about people working behind the scenes. It amazes me that we have this situation with Mr. Obama right now, that questions are still lingering on his background. Yet the media will not touch it. Congress will not touch it. Yes, I see Chuck Colson just passed away from the Watergate time frame. He was placed in prison for Watergate. They invested Watergate, and they will investigate certain items if they choose to do so. And Sheriff Joe Arpaio from Arizona had to gather a team of former lawyers and law enforcement officers, and they did a detailed investigation showing things didn't add up on this birth certificate that they put out last year. And it seems like this question is still lingered in many of the minds of the public, and yet Congress will not do an investigation and the media will not touch it. Why?
Well, what I also find interesting is Fox News, which is supposed to be fair and balanced, won't touch it either. You look at Bill O'Reilly. He looks at people that think that the president wasn't born in this country are as idiots.
I agree with you.
When you'd have to be an idiot to believe that he was.
I think sometimes, I don't really watch a whole lot of those programs, I'll be honest with you. And I just came back from Afghanistan this last November, so I didn't see some of these programs. But But in reference to Raleigh, like you just alluded to, some of these guys that come across as, I'm conservative, I'm for the American people, look at me, I'm going to represent the American people. Some of the items they won't touch. Why? Mr. O'Reilly, why won't you touch things like that?
And I would
submit it to you. Tell me why.
And that's a good question. Why won't they touch it? And you look at other things they've done too. Look at the Republican nominations. Like the last election, Winston Churchill said, "Appeasement is hoping the alligator eats you last." And John McCain was the typical poster boy for appeasement. He appeased so much that the media fell in love with him during the campaign, knowing they were going to eat him when he got the nomination and went against Obama. And of course, McCain took the dive. Even if you could believe that the election was fair and balanced, which I doubt it was, but now you look at this year, when they're shooing in Romney from day one, and he doesn't have it locked up yet, and all the things they're doing, which I believe that states, I don't think you can count the vote, I don't think you can trust the vote anymore.
I understand.
There is nobody with integrity. I mean, people, whatever their agenda is, now the means are justifying the ends, and which is terrible, because they'll just go the path of Satan to get where they want to go, and when you take this in every level, from every echelon, from the lowest guy at the voting booth all the way up until the top of Congress, we find that you can't trust anyone.
Well, you make a valid point. I can't disagree with that. There's a lot of things going on that just make you wonder what's going on. Our nation, and for me now, Robert, as you already know, I have strong Christian beliefs. I really believe if there is not a sincere spiritual recrudescence on Jesus Christ in our nation, and soon, and repentance in this nation, that we're heading for a tremendous train wreck. And where the nation as you know it will not be known in the future. There will be rampant poverty, famine throughout our nation.
I already think that we're no longer the blessed nation. I already think that God has now kind of just sat back and not protecting us. I think 9/11 was the first act that showed that we were not protected with a force field anymore.
Well, I think right now we have shown to God, we don't want the Ten Commandments in our public buildings. School prayer was taken out in the early 60s, separation of church and state in the 50s, which is bogus. It's not in the Constitution. Many things we're doing today as a nation is showing God, well, God, in your face. We're going to do what we want. We're America, the great. Please take note, God. Get with the program. This is modern times. That's not how it works. God is God. America, you're not. Please take note. He deserves full reverence. If you want His blessings, then you need to acknowledge Him as the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. I'm referring to Jesus Christ.
Absolutely, but we've taken it a step further in this country. Instead of just taking out the Ten Commandments and just removing prayer from the classrooms, we've interjected homosexuality, and we've interjected condoms and drugs, and having to do the drugs safely, and having children at 12 years old getting abortions. That's the American Holocaust right now, is the abortions. Over 53 million of them since 72.
You're hitting a good button with me right now. You're hitting a good button with me right now. That's another, I think, is just atrocious, some of these policies. And in reference to morality and in reference to things being correct or not correct, we were founded as a nation on Judeo-Christian principles, and morality is very important to a direction of a nation. And basically, it's like anything goes today. You know, there's no limitations. If you don't have moral and ethical guidelines based on Judeo-Christian values, you're not going to recognize this country as we proceed more into this decade, even more so.
Absolutely correct. And now you watch what's happening. Now let's take it even a step further. Look what's going on in Hollywood, how they're setting the tone. House, the show House. You ever watch House?
A long time ago, 1 or 2 episodes, a little bit. I don't watch a lot of TV.
But here's how they do it. Being a hypnotist, a neurolinguistic program master, I look for things that are on television or in movies that are there to sway people's minds subconsciously over to their side. Yes. On an episode of House, they had a guy who was a motivational speaker. He was a little older, maybe in his 40s and his 50s,
right,
kind of like we are. Well, what happened was he was speaking against men. He was talking about how men need to calm down, treat their women better, do all these different things that make men, which is one of my hot button points, is there's no masculinity anymore in this country, and here's one of the reasons why. Well, one of his cures was he needed more he needed more testosterone in the system, and when they gave him testosterone, he went back to who he was before, which was a really hard-sell, kind of leading guy that took no crap, just went and got the job done. Good guy, but very, very forceful. Now his wife didn't like him anymore like this. So at the end, he had to decide, do I take this medicine and be this kind of guy, or do I not take the medicine and be the wimpy guy, but at the same time, die? He decided to take just enough to live so he could keep his wife. And the moral of the story was, to be a better man, you must be a woman.
Well, I don't agree with that, and neither do you. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the way things are supposed to be. Hollywood is being used again, I think. People working behind the scenes to manipulate the minds of the people, to take them in the direction they want them to go, and it's not in a positive direction.
Excellent. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Robert Saviola Show here on AM 930 and FM 107.7. We have a great guest here with us, Michael Imhof, and we're going to be back in just a couple of seconds, so stay tuned.